Okay, welcome to the very first podcast for TL Performance. I'm Coach Tom. So I'm from Philadelphia originally and still follow the home teams just to check it out, see what's been happening as I've gotten further along in the KSI coaching program. I'm level 8 now out of 10, which is close to graduation. I've become more interested in how to train, what's the best way to train, uh, and how to help athletes, no matter what team they're with, and also people who aren't on a team, to train more effectively, to achieve their full potential, and to do it without getting hurt. So that means preventing injury, but also trying to understand as best I can why it happens, so that we don't get to the point where it does happen. In pro sports, injuries happen pretty frequently. Seems when I was a kid, and I'm 40 years old now, I don't remember athletes being injured so much. And in baseball, the Tommy John surgery has become just epidemic, especially amongst pitchers. And one of the things that I've learned in KSI is just how much training contributes to injuries. And it really amazes me that professional teams seem to think that injuries are just flukes and they just happen. There's not a whole lot of effort going into what's causing it or why it happens. And yet they all keep doing some of the same training things, and it's just crazy. And now I've seen over the last few years, there's been a few position players that are starting to get UCL injuries, the ulnar collateral ligament. That's what gets damaged when you have Tommy John. Tommy John is when they actually go in and repair it, or I believe even replace it. And so Bryce Harper, Philadelphia Phillies star, MVP candidate, really amazing player, has a minor tear in his UCLA, that's the university, not the UCL. And he's still going to play. They're going to have him as a designated hitter, and so that he doesn't have to throw. And it just highlights kind of the attitude of these professional teams, because they also expect within 4 weeks he can go back to doing what he's doing. There's not a lot of effort to solve it or to take care of the athlete long term, so that they can extend their career. Because why did he get a tear in the first place? No one's asking that question, and it's never mentioned. And I don't know if anyone ever even asked that. It's always assumed that it's because it's weak and that they need to do more strength training. Well, Bryce Harper posts his workouts online, and he's a pretty strong guy. He's a pretty buff guy, actually, which, when you think about the needs of a baseball player, it's being a bodybuilder or having a big physique really isn't a requirement to play baseball, but it's become something that people, elevate in all sports as the be all end all. That's going to give you those extra athletic abilities and help you to be better at your sport, no matter what your sport is. And, I've seen some of his training. He does a lot of, I would suggest somewhat CrossFit type of training, really heavy weights, but with really poor technique. And when you do that kind of training, it's not going to, your body doesn't always respond well to it. You might develop muscle size, but muscle size doesn't mean that what you're doing is appropriate or is helping you. Just like body fat doesn't reflect athletic ability or even health. I mean, I had lunch with a friend of mine the other day who's in his 50s, and he trains a lot, in my opinion, excessively. But I mean, everybody's got to make their choices for themselves. He had developed tendonitis, which is a surefire sign that you're doing too much if you have inflammation like that. But he's lean, so that's kind of how he gauges whether he's in shape or not. And then no matter what the collateral damage, people attribute that to aging or just part of life. And I don't accept that. I think we can hold ourselves accountable and hold the professionals accountable to create a successful athlete in person without without the damage. It can be done. It just requires a lot more effort. And I think that that is something that we don't see in sports. So the thing that's interesting with Bryce Harper is that the team is just going to let it go. And I don't know, maybe he'll develop, maybe later on he's going to have surgery that'll be accepted. And who knows the impact it could have on his career. He's riding high right now. He's playing absolutely great. And, I'm sure he will for some future years, but maybe it will shorten his career because it wasn't addressed. Maybe it will get worse. Who knows? He's going to be getting a PRP injection and he's not going to throw. That's the extent of the rehab. And that'll be it. So I'm just here to say for anyone that tunes into this podcast that there is a better way. Smarter training decisions need to be made well before this kind of thing ever happens, because you need to take into account the type of sport you play, the stimulus you're going to get in the sport, because nothing is foolproof. Like our bodies are amazing biological feats. They can do a lot, but that doesn't mean that being active or doing strength training doesn't have its consequences, especially when done poorly. So the training program needs to be tailored to the sport and the individual to take into account the stresses that they're going to have, and not just make generalized strength training choices that are because they develop muscle size, lower body fat, or because they're hard to do. So that's my message for today, that injuries like this don't have to happen. And in Bryce's case, he's already a star and he's making millions of dollars, but maybe there's a kid who's 14 or 15 who's in a similar situation and he's never going to have the opportunity to get to the major leagues because he's following the training and the advice that some of these professionals are giving to these professional athletes. And I say professionals with the air quotes. I know you can't see them, but I kind of laugh at it. I met a athlete who's also a personal trainer on doing some networking, and they were just looking for guidance because they wanted to get better. They were so focused on strength training as the area that they needed to get better. And that's fine. I like that. I like strength training, but it has its place and it's not the only type of training. And I recommended some of Ian's books because the How to Write Strength Training Programs book is a phenomenal book. And now it's available on ebook. So you can literally have it in the palm of your hand in, minutes, probably less than that, seconds, and be reading it, and the impact it can have on your own programs, let alone people you're training for. But they didn't really want that. They just wanted to meet strength coaches. And I nearly laughed because they said, just looking to strengthen my skills. The pun intended. But that's why so few will actually attain the level of graduation in KSI, but also why so few will reach their full potential in life, because they're not willing to ask those questions and to really educate themselves. So anyway, if you are an athlete or a person and you're not getting what you want from training, there's a better way out there, and I can help you with that if you have questions. So you can reach me by email, tom@toperformancela.com. You can leave a comment under this video. You can also find me on Instagram as coach.tomleggett and Facebook, TL Performance LA as well. And that'll do it for today. Tune in next time for more great conversation around training. Thank you.